Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all. Welcome back to Swaroop IT Learning Solutions. So, in this particular video series, we will continue to learn installing, configuring, and managing VMware Hypervisor version 8 infrastructure. So, we have already covered following topics for providing internet connectivity to VMware vSphere Windows 11 nested VM. So what we have covered? We have covered the internet connectivity option through ESXi vCenter virtual distribution switch port group through GUI option. The next option we have covered is the same through vCenter virtual distribution switch port group, but this time through Power CLI. Third option we have covered through Windows proxy RRAS plus NAT GUI setup. And fourth option we have covered is again through Windows proxy RRAS NAT, but this time with the PowerShell. So all those four options we have already covered. Now I'm coming to the fifth option and the final option for upcoming module. So now we are giving the internet connectivity to Windows 11CL nested VM through Linux Ubuntu server distribution proxy option. Okay, so we will be installing our Ubuntu server and we will be configuring it as a internet gateway, and through that we will give a internet connectivity through our Windows 11CL nested VM. Okay, this will be our upcoming module. So before going to the practical steps, let's discuss the advantages and disadvantages of using Linux as a NAT or internet gateway proxy. Okay, so first of all, let's see the advantages. So advantages is Linux distribution is lightweight and resource efficient. Unlike your Windows OS, it is not a heavy performance duty OS. So Linux, especially Ubuntu server or Debian or Alma or Rocky, etc., whichever distribution you may choose, uses minimal RAM and CPU, making it ideal even for old or low spec hardware or nested labs like us. Okay, so that is the first advantage. Second advantage is it is highly flexible and customizable. So you can enable NAT routing, DHCP, DNS, firewalling, VPN, proxy caching, HTTPS filtering, exactly the features you want and nothing else. So you can customize your overall operating system installation and you can choose the features, only features which you are actually requiring during the installation only. So that will cut down your overhead of the whole OS features and roles whichever are there present, even though you don't want it. So that is the advantage of any Linux distribution. Third advantage is strong security model. So Linux firewalls like IP tables and NFT tables are extremely robust. You control every inbound outbound rule, unlike Windows ICS which is very limited. So you can actually customize your IP tables, you can actually customize your NFT tables, and you can control every inbound outbound port rules, every traffic through Linux proxy. Next, it is a mature stable routing stack. So the Linux kernel IP version 4 or IP version 6 forwarding stack is reliable and used in enterprise routers, firewalls, then Kubernetes and clusters, cloud hypervisors, etc. So it is a proven mature stable routing stack which is actually near about impossible to hack because it is on Linux distribution. Okay, so those are the advantages. Now one more, the last one, low licensing cost. So everything is free. Ubuntu desktop version or server version is free. That is your covering your operating system plus tools, perfect for labs or even for the enterprise. Okay, so those are the advantages for using Linux as a NAT or internet gateway proxy. Now let's discuss the disadvantages also. So disadvantages of using Linux as a NAT or internet gateway proxy. The first one is it requires Linux knowledge, so not beginner friendly, requires comfort with CLI mode, then editing config files, then troubleshooting routes, then interfaces, firewall rules, and etc. So it is not as easy as Windows GUI operating system. So next is of course no full GUI in server edition. So most server distributions do not come with a GUI option, means unlike your Windows server, so all configuration is manual. So unless you are absolutely familiar with the Linux commands and typing speed and all, which unfortunately I am also not that much flexible, but still I am trying. But if you are not that much familiar, then this option might not be suitable for you, because it is not having a popular GUI interface. Then when you right click and just enable that option and that's it. No, you have to manually type every command and all. Now third disadvantage is easy to misconfigure. So one wrong firewall rule or incorrect net plan YAML entry can break routing or internet table. So actually you need to be absolutely sure what kind of uh, rules, what kind of net plan configuration you are applying. Then only it will work as per your expectation. Otherwise, one incorrect firewall rule and the whole routing table can break. It is as straightforward as that. So whatever the disadvantages you are seeing over here, we will see practically that how many those scenarios are coming in hand when we are actually configuring our Ubuntu server as a proxy server. And the next disadvantage is maintenance overhead. So of course, if you are using any Linux distribution, it needs regular OS patching, security updates, firewall tuning, then log monitoring. All those maintenance related activities will get additional burnout. So moving forward, for our diagram, what we are actually doing. So I think I have explained this diagram previously 2-3 times, but for different options. So it is the same diagram. Internet connectivity, our ISP router, then that internet connectivity is connected to my physical machine Windows 2022 base through my physical NIC. Then on my physical machine I have installed VMware Workstation. Through VMware Workstation I have created these three VMs. As of now, forget about this, I will explain this. So these three VMs are SX00102 and Windows 2022 DC, that we all know. Okay, now from the physical NIC through VMware Workstation, we have created one VM0, that is a bridge network adapter, and it is actually connected directly to my physical NIC. So the internet connectivity flows like this bridge network, and this bridge network we have connected to our fourth VM, which we will be creating now, which will be our Linux proxy, Ubuntu Linux proxy. So this Linux proxy will get the internet connectivity, and then it will pass on that internet connectivity to our Windows 11CL nested VM through our Linux proxy NAT. Okay, so you can see over here color coding. This is your first one is red, it is your internet connectivity. Second one is this one, Linux proxy NAT connectivity. This is important because this is what we are implementing in this particular module. Rest connectivities are already explained by me in detail in the previous modules. If you want to listen to that explanation, you can go back and listen to that on my previous videos. Okay, so this is the overall setup what we are doing. One more thing I need to highlight, our Linux proxy will have two IPs. One IP will be internal one, 10.1.1.151, and second one will be external one. It can be a static, it can be a DHCP. As of now in this particular module it will be a DHCP, so it can be 192.168.1.40 also, 39 also, 52 also, or anything which is available through ISP router. Okay, so ISP router will decide because it is working as a DHCP server also, right? So this IP can be anything, but it is having an external internet connectivity. Okay, so this is how the overall diagram is working. Now let's move on to the practical mode. So the first step is to power off the following VM, Windows 2022 DC. This is an optional step, but I have already completed it. Step number 564 and 565 I have already completed. So through Windows 2022 base VMware Workstation, edit virtual network editor, change settings and add network VMnet0 breached. So this VMnet0 is actually breached to our physical network adapter, and this physical network adapter is invariably connected to internet. So this VMnet0 is actually having internet connectivity. So if I'm going to my VMware Workstation just to show you guys, so virtual network adapter, and you can see VMnet0. If I'm clicking on change settings, and you can see VMnet0 breached, and it is breached to my physical network. My physical network is connected to internet. Okay, so it is as simple as that. It is a bridge network between my VMware Workstation and physical network which is having internet connectivity. So bridge between VMware Workstation and internet. Okay, so this is also we have already created. We have created in previous modules also. So this is already been completed. So next step is I have already completed that to decrease the Windows 2022 DC VM's RAM from 16 GB to 10 GB. Why this is required? Because my lab setup is having, my physical machine is having 128 GB RAM. So out of which already 96 GB RAM goes to ESX host, and then 16 GB RAM to DC. So there is no RAM left for the fourth VM. So I have decreased my DC VM to 10 GB so that I can accommodate the RAM for my fourth VM also, that is our Ubuntu Linux proxy, that is upcoming. So this is an optional step. If you are having enough RAM in your server or lab, you can skip this step. Okay, so this is also completed. This is, so as I said, this is an optional step, and we have decreased this 10 GB, and now we are actually, you can see over here, this DC is off currently, and the RAM it is showing is 10 GB. So we need to start it. Okay, so let it start, and then once it is fully online, we will continue with our practical steps. Alright, so our Windows 2022 DC system is online now, and I have taken the RDP session of that machine also, right? And rest of my ESX host 01 and 02 were already online, so I have not touched those ones. So let's move on to the next step. So we have decreased the overall RAM for Windows 2022 DC for 10 GB, just to make sure that our fourth VM will also get enough RAM. So next step is actually now we are creating a new virtual machine, not a nested one, but directly through our VMware Workstation. So through Windows 2022 base VMware Workstation, create a new virtual machine with following configuration. So what configuration we will be using? VM name will be Ubuntu Linux Proxy. You can give any specific name. OS will be Ubuntu LTS server 24.04.03. This is the latest version. You can download it from the Ubuntu site. It's a free download. Next is CPU 2x24 cores. This is optional, means whichever number of cores you might be assigning to your virtual machine. HDD will be 100 GB. That should be enough. RAM will be 10 GB. This also is a great feature for any Linux distribution, that it is not a RAM hungry operating system. 10 GB will be more than enough for our Ubuntu server also. And then CD DVD, of course we will be mapping our Ubuntu 24.0 or 4.03 live server ISO. And then network, we will be adding two network adapters. VMnet1, that will be our internal network connectivity host only, and network 2 VMnet0 will be our bridge, that is our internet connectivity. Now take a note that we are adding network adapters before OS installation of Ubuntu. Okay, so let's create this particular VM now step by step. So I'm coming back to my VMware Workstation. and I will click on new virtual machine, select custom, that's fine. This hardware compatibility is fine. This is the latest hardware compatibility standard. Next, I will install the operating system later. We will map that ISO later, so no problem. Say next. Here we have to choose Linux and Ubuntu 64-bit. Now this option is already showing because I have already done this setup prior to coming to this particular video shooting, because I want to make sure that everything works fine. So otherwise freshly you need to choose Linux and Ubuntu 64-bit option. Okay, click on next. Now here we need to supply the virtual machine name and the location. So I'm just giving us normal name Ubuntu Linux proxy, and the location will be our usual location, G drive, VMware, and here I will create one new folder. And now I will select that folder. I will say OK. So all the VM configuration will be saved in this particular folder. I will say next. Here again you can keep default values, or you can increase the CPU cores as per your choice. Next, here I will give 10 GB, so 10240 MB. Say next. As of now I'm not adding network connection just to avoid the confusion, so I will choose this option, but we will add it later on once the VM is completed. Next, IO controller, it's a default one, let's not change it. Virtual disk type SCSI, that is fine. Next, now we need to create a new virtual disk, so I will say next, create a new virtual disk. Next, here I will just make it as 100 GB, and this option is important, otherwise it will split your virtual disk into multiple disks, so we don't require that. So store virtual disk as a single file. Next, now it will ask where to store your virtual disk, so I will go on browse and I will go on to our Ubuntu Linux proxy which we have just created, that fresh folder, save. Okay. Next, and I will say finish. And we have created this virtual machine, but couple of settings are still missing over here or still need to add. So we need to add our CD DVD and we need to add these two network adapters, right? So what I'm doing is, first I will go to the settings of my new VM, and first I will add network adapter, finish, first network adapter, choose it as VMnet 1 host only. This is for our internal network connectivity, right? And one more network adapter 2, and this will be our VMnet 0, that is actually connected to internet, as I told you in the previous step. So this is a bridge network adapter. So second one is a actual internet connectivity NIC. Okay, now two network adapters have been added. Third change, as of course we need to map our operating system ISO. Okay, so I will click on use ISO image, browse, and I will go to my ISO path. So this particular ISO I have already downloaded from Ubuntu official site. So you can see over here Ubuntu 24.04.3 live server AMD ISO. Okay, we'll choose this one. Okay, and I will say OK. Now our overall Linux proxy VM creation is completed. Now we will install our Ubuntu server over here. Okay, so let's move on to the next step. So next step is start Ubuntu Linux proxy VM and select try or install Ubuntu server option. So we will start, and this should boot from our ISO. You can see it is directly booted from ISO. So there are three options: try or install Ubuntu server with HWE kernel, and test your memory. So we will select the first option, try or install Ubuntu server. Enter. Remember, this is a fully CLI based operating system, no GUI. Okay, so you need to be kind of an ready for this kind of scenario. Okay, I am also a Windows guy for more than 20 years, but I am now starting to learn or get used to these Linux CLI based commands or CLI based options. Okay, so let's move on to the next step. Now we have already monitored the Ubuntu server's first OS initializing boot process, so this is completed. Next is it will ask us for choosing the operating system language, of course. So we will choose English, and over here I need to show you, not now but in the later part. So English is selected, enter. Now once English is selected, it will automatically take your layout as English US and variant also as English US. Okay, and these options are fine, but you can see due to this VMware Workstation View Console restriction, I cannot see the done option over here, but if I'm scrolling down, there is a done option over here. Okay, so it is already highlighted. If I'm clicking inside, you can see done back. So I'm selecting done, I'm hitting enter. Okay, again I have to go upwards for the next option. So this is somehow cumbersome to use for the first time, but uh, unlike the Windows operating system GUI option, as I said, this CLI method is somehow difficult for the beginners, but it's fine, we will try to use it. Okay, now this particular option is let's say having difficulties till the time we are actually enabling our SSH mode for our Ubuntu server. That we will do on the later steps. Okay, so let's move on to the next step. So next step is there are two main important options over here. Now we need to choose either Ubuntu full server installation option or the minimize one. Okay, so I have tried both, but if you are using this minimize option, it will install literally nothing. No editor, no nano, no what do you say, different basic options like package upgrade, then all these things. So we don't require that option as of now. So Ubuntu server full option is already selected. You can see cross over here. So we are not changing anything, and I'm going to the bottom of this particular page, and you can see done is already selected. So I will say done, enter. Okay, so let's move on to the next step. So we have selected the Ubuntu full server. Remember this option. Okay, don't go for minimize. Now next is on network configuration screen. Choose or verify the default configuration as of now and click done at the bottom of the screen. Now we will see, if I am going upwards, it has detected two Ethernets. Okay, so ENS33 is our internal, that means our VMware Workstation internal connectivity, and ENS34 is our external, that is our internet connectivity. You can see the external one is already getting the IP from our DHCP router, that our ISP router. Okay, so we don't require to change anything, and we will enable this internet connectivity for ENS33 later on. Okay, you can see over here it is currently disabled because we have not given any IP address or something like that. We can give as of through OS setup also, but we will do it later on. So we don't have to change anything Again, I am telling you, this is important to understand. ANS33 is internal, ANS34 is external connectivity. That is your internet connectivity. Okay, so after that we need to, of course, in the bottom click on done, enter. So let's move on to the next step. So next step is it will ask for the proxy address to connect to the internet. So on proxy configuration screen, don't specify anything and click done. So as of now we don't require any proxy configuration because we are having a direct internet connectivity. So I will not change anything over here for the proxy address, and I will simply click on done. Next is on Ubuntu archive mirror configuration screen, keep the default values intact and click done at the bottom. So it will automatically connect to our Ubuntu packaging site. Since this particular OS is already having internet connectivity, so it has already connected and it is reading the package list and all, but this is fine, this is an optional step, so we are not changing anything over here and we will move forward. Okay, so again on the bottom click done. So next is on guided storage configuration screen, keep the default values intact and click done at the bottom of the screen. So this is a normal option, just like Windows installation, that it will detect our existing disk and it will ask whether to use the entire disk or not. So we are using use an entire disk and set up this disk as an LVM group. These are the default options. It is detecting this as 100 GB, so everything is fine. As of now we are not changing anything, and I'm coming to my bottom option, done, and hitting enter. Our next step, so on storage configuration screen, keep the default values intact and click done at the bottom of the screen. So I will just go through those options for you guys. So again, it will create these partitions and then file system summary. This is available devices. It will configure our disk as a LVM volume, then use devices. Everything it is showing as a default option, so we don't need to change anything over here. It will create all those partition 1 2 3 automatically during the installation process, so we don't have to change anything. Finally, I'm clicking on done. So next option is, of course, it will ask for the final confirmation that everything will be wiped out from the current disk and it will install a fresh Ubuntu server. So we don't need to change anything over here. I will just choose continue and enter. Now next option is it will ask us for the profile configuration. So we need to give all the inputs for our profile. So on profile confirmation screen, enter values as shown in the below figure and click done at the bottom of the screen. So coming back to my main screen, I'm just removing this library view so that we can have a better view at least. And now I'm entering the values. So name will be Linux proxy, that's fine. Server name will be whatever we can give, but you can choose. Now here one thing for notice, it is not taking the capital U, it is not taking, so I'm just continuing the lower case. Ubuntu proxy. Okay, now next is pick up a username, so I'm just picking up the username as Linux admin. You can choose whatever username you might want to. I'm just giving the password. Remember this password because first time we need to log in with this password. Okay, so this is a basic profile configuration what we need to enter for the OS installation to complete. And now I'm going to the bottom of the screen, of course, and selecting done, enter. Let's move on to the next step. Next step is it will ask us to upgrade to the Ubuntu Pro, but as of now we don't require to go for any upgrade as of now, so I'm just skipping this step as of now. So I'm coming back here and skip for now option is there already selected. I'm just hitting enter on continue. So next step is it will ask to install the Open SSH server. Now this is important. If you want to enable our SSH functionality for Ubuntu server, we need to install it. Of course, after the operating system installation also you can install this particular feature, but during the installation if it is asking, we will select that one and we will go forward. So I am selecting this particular option, install OpenSSH, right? So select this one. Now I have just hit the space bar to select that particular option, and now I am going to the bottom of the screen and selecting done, enter. Let's move on to the next step. So next step is on features server snap screen. Don't select anything and click done at the bottom of the screen. So it will ask to select all those features if you want to go for external functionalities and all, but as of now we don't require anything, so I'm not selecting anything and I will just select done, enter. And now you can see the OS installation is already started. Okay, so you can see installing the system. Okay, at the bottom of the screen it is actually downloading and installing security updates and all these things, because this VM is already having internet connectivity, so it will utilize this internet connectivity for the basic installation and security updates. Okay, so let it complete that particular step. Once this installation gets completed, I will come back to you with the next practical steps.